offer and restored our possibility of cooperation with the African countries. The presence of the African Union as a full member of the G20 will be of great value, but it's still necessary to include other countries of this continent as full members of the G20. I discovered something very interesting. When I made a visit to many African countries in the past to try to manage to get support so that Brazil could host the Olympic Games of 2016, I discovered something that was extraordinary. That was the following: the power of the rich and the power of the poor. I discovered that the African continent, with 54 countries, had less delegates to the International Olympic Committee than countries with 6 million inhabitants only. And so it's necessary to change this, and we have to take into account that we have to gather urgently the representation of the developing countries in the multilateral fora and in the institutions that were created during Bretton Woods in '45, so that we can try to fix the world and avoid new wars. These institutions that were created a long time ago don't help us anymore. On the contrary, they strangle countries. So that's why we have common agenda to advocate for. It is unacceptable that we still have to live with more than 735 million people that are in hunger. We're creating at the G20, which Brazil chairs, a global alliance against hunger so that we can trigger a set of public policies and mobilize resources to finance these policies. Around 60 countries, many of them coming from Africa, are very close to bankruptcy and destined more resources to pay back their foreign debt than for applying the resources to education and health care. This reflects the obsolete nature of the financial institutions such as the IMF and the World Bank that many times aggravate crises that they should help to solve. It is necessary to seek solutions to trends like highways, railroads, hydroelectrical plants, wind farms, solar power, green hydrogen production of energy, and transmission lines. We have to follow step by step the evolution of the new technologies. Artificial intelligence cannot be the monopoly of very few countries and companies. They cannot also be the fertile terrain. They cannot also be the fertile terrain for hate discourses and misinformation, besides causing unemployment and reinforcing the biases of race and gender that create more injustice and discrimination. Brazil will promote the interaction of the G20 with the high-level panel created by the Secretary General of the UN to support the discussions about the Global Digital Compact. We hope with that to contribute for an effective and multilateral governance in terms of artificial intelligence, and that will incorporate fully the interests of the that there's no global south without the African continent. To go back and restore ties and to contribute to build a new world order that is more fair and with solidarity, and allow us mainly to add up our efforts to overcome the challenge that we have ahead. And I would like to say, friends from the African continent, Brazil always looked around to the world without looking towards the African continent. Brazil, for many centuries, was governed looking towards the U.S. and Europe. Looking to Europe, and Brazil never didn't look to South America, that it gave its back, and even less we looked towards the African continent. When I took the presidency, when I took office in 2003, I decided that Brazil should get presidency. When I took office in 2003, I decided that Brazil should get closer to the African continent. understanding what the Brazilian ambassador in those days would say, that was a quote that said that Africa and Brazil had borderlines between themselves. They were only divided by a river called the Atlantic Ocean. The ocean is not a hurdle so for us to get closer. It is something, a blessing from God for us. And so that's why not only I visit 20 times the African continent, and I open 19 embassies, Brazilian embassies in the African continent. I open a plant, an antiretroviral plant in Mozambique, and we brought agriculture, a technological company came to Ghana. But that's all over. Now I came back to be the president of the country, and I want to say to all of you here that I'm back, and I want to give my contribution to the African continent. Brazil doesn't have everything that we think we have. Brazil doesn't have all the money that I would enjoy for us to have. Brazil doesn't have all the scientific and technological knowledge that I would enjoy that we would have. Brazil does not have in the world the strength that it should have. But what I would like to end with my words is to say to all of you here, everything, little or a lot, that Brazil has, I want to share it with the African countries, because we have an historical indebtedness of 350 years of enslavement, and the only way to pay back this debt is through truth and with a lot of love. A great hug to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Very important.
Thank you. Thank you many, many times, Your Excellency, for your statement. And now, Excellencies, honorable delegates, it's my distinct honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Ghazali Osmani, President of the Union of Comoros and Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his opening statement. Thank you.
Excellence, Monsieur le Premier ministre d'Éthiopie, notre cher
Excellency,
Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Excellence,
Prime Minister, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Excellency Lula da Silva, President of Brazil, Honorable Prime Minister of Palestine, our dear brother, Abul Ghais, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, my dear brother Moussa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Honorable Ministers, distinguished ambassadors, heads of delegation, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May I, first of all, with all the emotion, feeling, and sadness, to convey on your behalf and on my own behalf my heartfelt condolence to the authorities, the people, and the family of the late President, our brother, former President Hage Geingob, the President of the Republic of Namibia. He is passing away. It's a great loss for his country, but also for our continental organization. I would like to seize this opportunity to convey to you all my best wishes for this new year 2024. May this year bring us happiness, health, and prosperity. Then I would like to thank most warmly the government of Ethiopia for the warm welcome. Each time that we come for a meeting here, we are accorded this warm welcome each time we come for these sessions, and all the facilities in cooperation with the African Union Commission to ensure the success of the 37th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of our organization. I would like also to greet all my colleagues, heads of state and government, who work relentlessly for the development of our organization, the Pan-African organization. Furthermore, I would like to thank my brother Moussa Faki
ce qui aura été notre mission commune au service de notre cher continent. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, il y a un an, jour pour jour, du haut de cette même tribune, vous m'avez confié la noble responsabilité de présider notre organisation, offrant ainsi la possibilité à un État insulaire de conduire la destinée de notre continent dans un esprit de solidarité inclusif entre toutes les catégories des États membres de notre organisation. Cet élan de solidarité m'a conduit, en plus du thème de l'année 2023 consacré à l'accélération de la ZLECAf, à inscrire au centre de mon mandat les questions liées à la gouvernance maritime, au changement climatique, avec l'intérêt particulier pour la promotion et la préservation de la paix et la sécurité dans notre cher continent. Cette préoccupation sécuritaire partagée aura guidé toutes nos actions au cours de mon mandat, convaincu que la pacification de notre continent demeure le socle de la réalisation de notre vision à l'horizon 2063 pour une Afrique unie et prospère. Et c'est ainsi que, dès mon investiture à la présidence de notre organisation, ma première action a été de prendre part au débat du haut niveau organisé par le Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies, présidé par notre pays frère, le Mozambique, à New York au mois de mars 2023, consacré à la lutte contre le terrorisme et l'extrémisme violent. À cette occasion, j'ai plaidé pour la mise en place des mécanismes de financement pérennes et durables en faveur des opérations de maintien de la paix sur le continent africain. Dans cette dynamique de promotion de la paix, et s'agissant du Soudan, ce pays frère, j'ai initié plusieurs rencontres avec les deux généraux, Al-Burhan et Mehdi, ainsi qu'avec les différents acteurs de la guerre en vue de les engager sur la voie du dialogue pour faire taire les armes. Animé de la même volonté de préserver la paix et la stabilité du continent, je me suis rendu en Guinée-Conakry en juin dernier et tout récemment au Gabon pour encourager leurs dirigeants à accélérer le processus de transition devant mener au retour de leurs pays respectifs à l'ordre constitutionnel. J'ai également rencontré des délégations du Sahel et envoyé des émissaires
envoys to the different countries of that region to preach peace, harmony on behalf of our organization. With regard to the crisis in the eastern part of DRC,
avec le président de la République d'Angola, et j'ai eu l'honneur de présider le sommet quadripartite le 27 juin 2023 à Luanda en présence des organisations régionales.
Luanda, in the presence of regional organizations in the countries of the Great Lakes region, in order to find appropriate solution to the resolution of this crisis. In the beginning of February, at the high level of the African Union on Libya, held in Brazzaville, under the chairmanship of our brother Sassou, president of the high-level committee, and I reaffirm the imperative need for bringing peace to this great country of our continent, so that we could restore peace and stability and development in that country. Peace in Africa depends on Ukraine and to Russia, in order to say the message of mediation of Africa in the conflict and dispute that opposes the two countries, the negative impact on our economies. I supported on behalf of my country the initiative taken in South Africa, and once again I want to encourage President Ramaphosa at the International Court of Justice to denounce the genocide which Israel is committing in Palestine under our nose. The international community cannot close its eyes on the atrocities that are committed, which has not only created chaos in Palestine, but also has disastrous consequences on the rest of the world. Indeed, what is happening there. Thus, I would like to call upon our Assembly to contribute, to put an end to the sufferings of the Palestinian people, and to continue to support the efforts aimed at establishing two states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and stability. Honorable Prime Minister of Palestine, rest assured that African Union is with Palestine and will support Palestine for its unity and its dignity. As you know, in 2023, the Union of the Comoros took over the mantle of the chairmanship of the African Union and placed it under the theme of acceleration of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And in this context, I carried out an advocacy with the countries that had not yet ratified the AFCFTA agreement by sending envoys that made it possible to accelerate the process of their acceding to that process. We managed to increase the number of the countries in the new initiative and guided trade initiative. In addition, efforts have been made and results obtained in the ratification as well as the application of the tariff offers to the Secretary General of the AFCFTA. Furthermore, the Secretary General of the AFCFTA had done us the honor of visiting Moroni, and it was an opportunity to discuss the very basis of the functioning of the AFCFTA, destined to make African countries and the private sector contribute effectively in the trade environment established within the framework of the AFCFTA agreement. In the activities, I also made the advocacy in favor of increasing investments, public and private investments, and particularly in the area of infrastructure and the reform of the international financial institutions. In this regard, I want to commend the remarkable work done by the President of the African Development Bank, our brother Adesina, whom I ask you to applaud, who has left no stone unturned in order to support the African members, African countries, through the promotion of infrastructures and innovative infrastructure. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the term as chairman of the African Union has been an opportunity which has been a lever for us to encourage the consideration of the potentialities on the vast maritime areas and the continental exclusive zone, so that this continental vision could be inclusive. Agenda 2063, whose second 10-year plan will determine this blue economy as being the new frontier, the new border of African Renaissance. In this perspective, in Moroni we organized a ministerial conference on blue economy and climate action in June 2023. The Moroni Declaration adopted on that occasion, in fact, pleads for common large-scale action that will highlight the various contributions to the island states as well as the coastal states, or the development of our continent. This declaration has been taken into account at the first summit on climate held in Nairobi in 2023 and in COP28 in Dubai. And I want to say that 2023 has been decisive for our continent, because peace and Africa's agenda has been presented everywhere. Africa that wins, Africa that we want, and also the admission of African Union in the G20 is also a success. And this augurs well for the prospects of our continent, in the sense that Africa henceforth forms part of world economic governance. This raises a lot of hope as regards the legitimate claims of Africa to be considered to have a permanent seat in the UN Security Council. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, at all international summits in which I participated in my capacity as the current chairman of the African Union, G7 in Japan, going through the second summit, Russia-Africa in Russia, the BRICS in South Africa, then Africa in Cuba, and also the EU is in Brussels and the Africa-Italy summit. I left no stone unturned to defend the interests of our continent by participating in the conference on that is Compact with Africa held in Berlin, Germany in November 2023, in the presence of many African colleagues and European colleagues. I wanted to mark our interest in the growth in private investment, national and foreign investments, in order to create jobs and wealth sharing on the continent. Participating in the recent summit, that is Italy-Africa, of course followed the same route. This country that has assumed the chairmanship of G7, I urge them to accelerate the implementation of the partnership for infrastructure and investments. Furthermore, I would like to underscore that the potential of African youth in Africa is an asset that we have to use in all our projects. I welcome the initiative of 1 million plus launched by Auda Nepad in Moroni, and which aims at making our youth an important and necessary link in the development of Africa. So a particular attention was given to the integration and to fight against such scourges as violence and discrimination against women. In Moroni, the positive masculinity was held also in Moroni, and we organized jointly with President Ramaphosa in South Africa the third Conference of Men on Positive Masculinity of the African Union in November 2023. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may I stress that Africa should make sure that its voice is heard in the architecture of development financing, which is being unfolded under the G20. We have to see the opportunity of our pertinence to the G20 in order to form alliances and coalition with our partners so that the ongoing reforms at the international level be in line with the collective interests of our countries. At the time that I will hand over, I want to say here loudly and clearly that I am very much grateful and that you have honored me on behalf of my country, the Union of the Comoros, in the service of our continent and the sons and daughters of this continent. And I cannot conclude my statement without expressing my sincere gratitude to the states of the East African region who did me the honor of entrusting to me the responsibility of taking the chairmanship of the organization. I want to thank the members of the Bureau of the Assembly and the chairperson of the African Union Commission for the active solidarity that had marked our common action, the convergence of views and on various issues, and also that we be heard. I express my gratitude to all the partners, bilateral and multilateral partners, who have given me their invaluable support in the exercise of my mandate as the chairman of the African Union. And I don't forget the remarkable work done by my colleagues in Moroni, the government, members of the cabinet, and the support that the Comorian Committee on the African Union. So we would like to wish full success to my brother Muhammad Ul-Ghazwani, who will take over for the noble mission that will be entrusted to him in the service of our continent, and I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. We will now proceed with the announcement of the new Bureau of the Assembly. May I invite Ambassador Yusuf Manduha, the Ambassador of the Comoros, the Ambassador of the Union of the Comoros, and the General Dean to come to the podium and announce the new Bureau of the Assembly. Your Excellency.
Excellence.
Your Excellency, President of the Union of Comoros, Mr. Azali Assoumani, outgoing Chairperson of the African Union, distinguished heads of state and government of the African Union, distinguished Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Prime Minister of the State of Palestine, the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mr. Moussa Faki Mahamat, Honorable Ministers, apologies first, Your Excellency, the President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, Honorable Ministers, Ambassadors, heads of the African Union organs, distinguished commissioners, all protocol observed. Assalamu alaikum to you all. It is my singular pleasure and honor to present to you the new composition of the Assembly of the African Union for the year 2024, and this is in line with the rules of procedure of the Assembly, particularly in its Article 16. And so the Bureau of the Assembly will read as follows. Chairperson, the Islamic Republic of Mauritania. First Vice Chair, the Republic of Angola. Second Vice Chairperson, the Republic of Congo. Third Vice Chairperson, the Republic of Ghana. Rapporteur of the Bureau of the Assembly, the Union of Comoros. So, Your Excellencies, this is the composition of the new Bureau of the Assembly for the year 2024, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for the announcement, and I have the honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency President Ghazali Osmani, President of the Union of the Comoros, to deliver his handover statement. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Directeur.
Thank you very much, Chief of Protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, on your behalf, allow me to first of all extend our warm gratitude to His Excellency Mr. Mohamed Ould Ghazali, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, for the new mission that has just been passed on to him as the incoming chairperson of the Union. May I also wish the entire Bureau of the Assembly full success, and I know that the composition is an outcome of consultations in line with our rules of procedure. Rest assured that I stand available to work with you throughout the following 12 months of the entire year, so that we can together work to attain our objectives, and also to make sure that we put in place a resilient education system, which is the theme of the year 2024. So it is on this note that I'm going to hand over this position as the chairperson of the African Union for the year 2024 to our brother Mohamed Ould Ghazali, the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and I wish him Godspeed and good luck. Please, Mr. President of Mauritania, take your floor, take your seat here on the podium.
And I now call His Excellency President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, the new chairperson of the African Union, to the handover ceremony. Thank you.
Il a peur, quoi, je vais faire la tête. Il a peur. Je viens. Voilà. Assurez-vous de ma fidélité. Merci beaucoup. On a été à vous accompagner sur l'âge de cette mission. Tu ne vas pas me donner le drapeau? Ah, je le prends. Non, non, je vais le mettre moi-même. Voilà.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chairperson of the African Union for the year 2024, His Excellency Mohammed Wil Sheikh Al Ghazwani, to deliver his acceptance statement. Please, Your Excellency.
Merci. Shukran.
Thank you. At the outset, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself, I wish to extend my thanks to His Excellency, Mr. Azali Osomani, the President of the Union of the Comoros and the outgoing Chairperson of the African Union, for the excellent chairmanship of the Bureau of the Assembly during his term. I thank you, President Aswan. Allow me now to make my address.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, dear colleagues, Excellency, President of Brazil, Mr. Lula da Silva, Excellency, Prime Minister of the State of Palestine, Mohammed Ibrahim Shetia, Heads of Delegation, Excellencies, Ministers, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Secretary General of the League of Arab States, representatives of international organizations, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset of my address, on your behalf and on behalf of myself, allow me to extend my thanks to the people and government of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia for the hospitality accorded to us that they have always given to us on the occasion of the organization of our various summits in this beautiful African capital. This beautiful city is the cradle of the first institutional expression of our will to integrate. This was initiated by the fathers of the OAU. All of this is reflected in what President Mukhtar Wildada said in his address in 1963. Quote, "The whole world is looking at us now, especially our African people. The crime that we can commit against our people is to fail." End of quote. The late president believed in upgrading the level of African joint action. He believed that his country represented a historical link between the north and the south of the continent, and he wanted the country to be one of the pillars of the new African organization. Allow me, dear colleagues, to express to you my respect and my deep gratitude for the trust bestowed in me. I specifically refer to my brothers, the leaders of the northern region, who have honored me as you have done to choose me as the chairperson of this union to serve our union. I am honored by this choice, particularly in the midst of this critical period through which our continent is going at the moment. I shall bear this responsibility on the basis of continued consultation and close coordination with all of you. I would like to congratulate my brother and friend, His Excellency Azani Ousmane, the President of the Union of the Comoros, for his leadership skills and for his leadership skills and for the efforts he made to promote the work of our union to achieve the aspirations of African people. I hail at the same time what His Excellency Moussa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and his team are doing at the moment, along with the various African institutions, in order to play a constructive role to revamp the performance of the Union in terms of effectiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, what the fathers looked for was what we built together in terms of Agenda 2063. It reflects our plans to develop to create the Africa we want, an integrated and prosperous Africa where peace prevails and where citizens are the leaders of the continent as a power in the international arena. The success of our plans and strategies to achieve this noble goal depends on an effective use of human resources to have an effective quality educational system that is open to new technologies. The adoption of an educational program in Africa to achieve continued and quality education in this year means that this is the right way forward. Education is the starting point for a sustainable development. It is a major support for peace and security. It is based on promoting skills, and this opens up new job opportunities. It reduces unemployment, poverty, and marginalization. Allow me, dear colleagues, to focus here on youths. Youths represent at the moment about 62% of the African populations. The loss of our youths is the loss of our continent. An uneducated youth means that Africa remains uneducated. African youths lacking the basic skills and who are unemployed in their countries and who are now taking up the boats of death through illegal immigration because of the absence of the horizon for a life in dignity and because of the absence of living in dignity in their country. All of these elements are a source of concern to us, and this means that we need a revolution in our educational systems. Our continent is lagging behind when it comes to the achievement of the fourth objective of development. We need to have comprehensive development, and we need to address the problems faced by our educational systems because of low accessibility and the high rates of dropouts, in addition to low quality of training and the various challenges. It is not acceptable to leave 17% of our children out of schools, out of primary schools. 75% of our young people do not have the skills that they need in secondary education. We all have, as governments and civil society and various actors, we have to deploy further efforts to mobilize the human and technical and financial resources to create a revolution in our educational systems. The aim is to provide our girls and boys on equal footing with the same opportunity to have the necessary skills on a continuous basis. The aim is to unleash the potential of African women and to enable them to participate in the leadership positions and in development. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, 10 years ago, the first decade plan was adapted within the framework of Agenda 2063. This is part of the mid-term development plan of the African countries and in REX and in the various regions. 10 years ago, the context was not conducive to development, and crises were multiple. There were health crises, environmental and security crises. All of them have had an impact on increasing challenges and represented major impediments to development. These challenges impeded the implementation of Agenda 2063. However, some promising progress has been made in different areas, such as the development achieved in the establishment of the AFCFTA and the establishment of the first stages, particularly with regard to the promotion of commodities and now the new protocols on investment have been adopted to promote competition. Now we have worked seriously on the digital identification of the AFCFTA and the agreement on the rules of origin. Some promising progress has been achieved in terms of the digital infrastructure and the road infrastructure, and also in relation to free skies. 37 countries have joined the African Common Market on Aviation, in addition to the mechanisms and the new partnerships to develop Africa, and also in relation to the development of Auda Nepat. We are now part of G20. We need to work harder to promote reform the UN system to consolidate the presence of our continent in its leadership position, with now the new seat in the Peace and Security Council. With your support, and we shall deploy further efforts, particularly with regard to the various reforms to create new agreements on promoting development, and all of this on the basis of flexibility and greater access to funding that should not increase our debt. We also hail the efforts made by the African Development Bank in this regard. I shall work with you to establish in favor of a multipolar system that is more balanced and fair, and which takes into account the interests of the least developing countries, and where our continent has a voice that is heard. The current international system, as it is now, is characterized by bias and double standards at the expense of the weaker and the least developed countries. And this has an impact on the rights and the causes of our continent. To understand the need for this international system to be reformed, we need to look at what is happening in Gaza in terms of destruction and the violation of international legality, in addition to the violation of human rights. The international community is not putting its weight to stop the war and to have a ceasefire and to provide the population with assistance. All of this to ensure the Palestinian people's right to establish an independent state with Eastern Jerusalem as its capital in line with international law. On this occasion, I am proud of the positions of the African Union, which reject injustice and which are based on promoting international law, particularly when it comes to the Palestinian cause. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in spite of the progress made here and there, in some areas, slowness is still the characteristic of our work. Thus, and within the framework of the decade 2024-2034, we need to intensify efforts to deal with the situation in different areas in the continent. Over 600 million Africans do not have access to electricity in the 21st century. Our continent has over 50% of utter poverty in the world, and it has, whereas it has 25% of arable land in the world. It only contributes 10% to the world agricultural produce. This is a continuous threat to its food security. We all know there is no sovereignty. The Ukrainian-Russian crisis shows our limited capacity to face the crisis. because of the trouble we witnessed in supply chains. Our continent is going through a paradox. There is a gap between the tremendous human resources, the strategic position of the continent, in addition to the various natural resources of the continent, that can make it a continent of peace and prosperity, and the reality that is characterized by poverty and marginalization. And to address this paradox, we need to mobilize all the resources in order to ensure an effective implementation of the second decade plan 2024-2034. The reports that will be submitted by my brothers, the presidents, and the diagnosis and the recommendations on the establishment of the AFCFTA and the implementation of the infrastructure project in its second edition, PIDA 2, in addition to the programs to promote agriculture and the common energy market. All of these plans will be have an impact on the implementation of the decade plan. The reorganization of the institutions of the African Union will be a lever to achieve these objectives. The effectiveness of the implementation of this second plan depends on our capacity to involve the private sector to implement the various themes of the plan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, one of the major challenges facing our continent at the moment is the spread of tension and armed conflicts, in addition to terrorist groups. These jeopardize peace and security, and they are affecting the social fabric of our communities, with a negative impact on the living conditions of the populations. Terrorism and civil wars in our continent generate a loss of life and a destruction of infrastructure and economic systems. All of this means that the fight for peace and security should be our first priority. We need to work together in order to establish a common peace in the continent through the various mechanisms that are part of the Peace and Security Council, particularly with regard to the early warning systems and the standby force. We also need to promote the level of coordination within the regional economic communities and among these communities. We will not overcome the development challenges alone, and we cannot meet the development and social challenges without building a continental comprehensive policy that takes into consideration security, society, and culture. The Africa we want is the one that works hard to solve its own conflicts without waiting for ready-made solutions from abroad. Through dialogue, it can coordinate, and it can find the appropriate solutions to its problems. It is true that we need to expand our partnerships with the various parties, but we should not be an arena for competition among others, which is detrimental to us economically, socially, and also from a security perspective. What makes the security situation more complicated in the continent is what is what we witnessed recently in terms of the unconstitutional changes that have an impact on the social and political stability of many countries. Of course, our union has made significant efforts through its legal mechanisms and through its various decisions and declarations. As we did in Algiers in 1999 and in Lomé and Accra in 2020 to deal with unconstitutional changes. But this did not prevent the return of unconstitutional change in our continent. All of this means that we need to work together to consecrate the rule of law and to establish real democracies that guarantee a peaceful alternation of power on the basis of stability and transparency. All of this requires that we need to pacify the political situation and overcome social conflicts and ethnic strife through dialogue and consultation. We need to improve social governance, economic governance, and political governance in general. Today, more than ever, we need to be inspired by African wisdom, the spirit of dialogue, and the search for consensus to manage the various crises. So we need to be innovative to bring back stability and peace to our societies. We need to improve economic, social, and political governments. We need to improve environmental governance. In spite of our weak contribution to the pollution which is leading to climate change, we are the most affected by this change in terms of floods, desertification, and the deterioration of our environment. Therefore, we have to deploy further efforts to promote the capacity of our citizens to adapt to the implications of climate change. And we need to work for the benefit of a sustainable climate management. Our continent has a tremendous capacity in terms of green hydrogen. This means that we can meet the challenge of access to energy and industrial transformation in the continent. All of this is possible if we can intensify coordination and partnership in order to mobilize the necessary resources to create a climate revolution by a better use of green hydrogen. With your support, I will work on using the available resources to us in the continent so that we can contribute to the achievement of the Agenda 2063. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the current situation in the world and in the continent requires more efforts on the basis of our common principles and values. We need to be aware of our common sense of destination. All of this means that we need to achieve our noble goals. The achievement of our noble goal of having a continent that is prosperous and integrated with peace and security, to be a dynamic force in the world, may, because of the current situation, may sound difficult at the moment. But as a matter of fact, this noble goal can be achieved. And we shall achieve this objective together on the basis of Agenda 2063, on the basis of the strength of our union, and because we have the tremendous resources and we have young populations on the basis of our ambitions and expectations. Therefore, all of us have to continue promoting the institutions of our union. In this way, we can have a better control of our future and affairs, and we can increase our integration and unity. And in this way, we can meet the expectations of our people, the legitimate expectations, as shown in Agenda 2063. I call upon for more unity and efforts to meet the challenges faced by our continent. I declare open the summit of the heads of state and government of the African Union, and I wish you full success in your deliberations. I thank you very much. I thank you, President Mohammed Wil Sheikh Ghazwani, President of the Islamic Republic of Mauritania and Chairperson of the African Union.
Gentlemen, we will now proceed to the launch of the theme of the year 2024. I would like to invite Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, His Excellency Professor Mohammed Bil Hussein, to guide the proceedings on these items. Excellency.
Thank you.
Yes. Please, Excellency.
Yeah. But let the high table be in place properly.
Africa, education for African fit for the 21st century, to have comprehensive, sustainable, quality education for Africa. Your Excellency, the Commissioner, you have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellence, Monsieur le Président. Excellence.
Excellency, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, distinguished heads of state and government, ministers, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, staff of the African Union, distinguished members attending this meeting. Allow me, Mr. Chairperson, to extend to you a warm welcome to the seat of the African Union. It is my privilege to take the floor now to give you a summary of the progress that has been made. Should I proceed? Yes, please do.
Même les commissaires sont descendus.
For Education, Science, Technology and Innovation is presenting the lounge, please. Try.
በአገር አቀፍ ደረጃ የመጀመሪያው ክልላዊ ራዲዮ ጣቢያ ሆኖ ግንቦት 16 ቀን 1989 ዓ.ም የተመሰረተው አማራ ሬዲዮ አሁንም ከርሶ ጋር ነው።
በተለያዩ ርዕሰ ጉዳዮች ላይ አስተማሪ መረጃ ሰጭና አዝናኝ ፕሮግራሞችን ይከታተሉ።
ውሎ በአርሶ አደሮች ቀይ
ከመጽሐፍት ጓዳ
ይህ ከውቀት ማዕዘን የሬዲዮ ዝግጅት ነው። በ801 ኪሎ ሄርዝ መካከለኛ ሞገድ፣ በ6090 ኪሎ ሄርዝ አጭር ሞገድ፣
በኢትዮሳት ፍሪኩዌንሲ 11165 ፖላራይዜሽን ሆሪዞንታል ሲምቦል ሬት 45000 ላይ እንገኛለን።
በሬዲዮ ጋርደን እና በበይነ መረብ amiko.it ላይ ፈልጉን።
በአንድ ሰዓት ስርጭት የተጀመረው አማራ ሬዲዮ አሁን ላይ ከአማርኛ ቋንቋ በተጨማሪ በአዊኛ በህምጠኛና በኦሮምኛ ቋንቋዎች ቀን ከሌት የ18 ሰዓት ስርጭቱን ወደ እናንተ ያደረሰ ይገኛል።
አማራ ሬዲዮ ነው።
እኔን
Bla Media Corporation is way ኅብረቱ ድሜን
ኩን ራዲዮ አማራት
የስርጭት አድማሱን በማስፋትና የፕሮግራሞቹን ጥራት በማሳደግ ይበልጥ የአድማጮቹን ፍላጎት ለማርካት እየተጋ ይገኛል።
ከአማራ ሬዲዮ ጋር በመስራት ምርትና አገልግሎቱን ለመላው የአማራ ክልል አካባቢዎች ተደራሽ ያደርጋሉ።
ጤናው የተጠበቀ አምሮ በእውቀት የዳበረና ምርታማ ትውልድን ለማፍራት በአማራ ሬዲዮ የሚተላለፉ ፖለቲካዊ፣ ኢኮኖሚያዊና ማህበራዊ ፕሮግራሞችን ይከታተሉ።
አማራ ሬዲዮ የሚያደምጡበት ብቻ ሳይሆን ሐሳቡን በነጻነት የሚገልጹበትና የሚሳተፉበትም ሬዲዮ ጣቢያ ነው።
አማራ ሚዲያ ኮርፖሬሽን
ለህብረተሰብ ለውጥ እንተጋለን።
ይሄ የኔ የህይወት ሳይሆን የሞት ታሪክ ነው።
በመኖር ገጽ ላይ የምናውቃቸው ድንገት የውሃ ሽታ ሆኖ ሲጠፉ ከዓይኖቻችን ሲርቁ ከዛሬ ምዕራፍ ላይ ሲገነጠሉ ምክንያቱን ለማወቅ ትናንትን እንደ አዲስ እናስሳለን። አጋጣሚውን ሁሉ እንፈትሻለን። ለምን፣ እንዴት፣ የት፣ ማን ጥያቄያችን መልስ እስከሚያገኝ ትናንትን እንደ አዲስ ማሰሳችንን አናቆምም። የውሃ ሽታ አዲስ ልብ አንጠልጣይ ድራማ በቅርቡ በአቦል ቲቪ፣ ዲኤስቲቪ ሁሉም ያለው እኛ ጋር ነው።
ሰላም
እንዴት ነሽ?
እንዴት ነህ ሰለሞን?
ቅዳሜሽ እንዴት?
ቅዳሜ በጣም ጥሩ ነው።
የአፍሪካ ኅብረት ጉባኤ እየተከታተልሽ ነበር?
አዎ።
ጥሩ ሰላም ነው? እንዴት ነሽ? ሳምንቱ ሁሉ ሰላም? ቤታችን ሙሉ ነው?
አዎ።
በጣም ጥሩ።
እናመሰግናለን። ያው ስቱዲያችሁ ሁሉ ጊዜ መሞቅ ደመቅ ብሎ ነው ቅዳሜ ለተመልካቾች የሚጠብቃቸው።
እውነት ነው።
ተመልካቾች በዚህ ሰዓት የቅዳሜ ቡና ሊከታተሉ ነው። 8 ሰዓት በቀጥታ የምናስተላግደውን ፕሮግራም ዛሬ በአፍሪካ ኅብረት ጉባኤ ምክንያት